Music and games. Sounds simple, but when we break it down, it can get quite technical. Let's do that right now. So before we start off, let's go on the first aspect. What are games? See, before computers existed, we had to go outside, find people, we call them friends. And together, we would play games outside, inside, like chess and Monopoly, which we will eventually lose our friends. So that's just me. So that was before computers. After computers came about, gaming went through an industrial revolution, basically turning to consoles, platforms, PC, and I'm pretty sure every one of you have played this before, mobile games. So, in the era of video games, I'm pretty sure everyone has experienced this. It brings us into this surreal reality, where we can feel the game, us being part of that reality. And every technical aspect of that game brings us into such a fantasy world. One of these technical aspects is what we will be focusing on today. So, the question is, what's so important? Why is music so important in video games?
So, George Lucas once famously said that 50% of the entertainment in movies is because of the sound and music. That's very much true, and I do believe that in games, which is an interactive medium, it's even more so. Things that carry over from film, linear media, as Josh said, is obviously music is a part of a storytelling tool. It sets the mood, it hypes you up when there's action, it helps you cry when things are not so good. I feel that in this interactive medium of games, it goes beyond that because the player or the user of the game is partaking in that activity as well. So, for example, if you're playing a first-person shooter and you hear gunfire behind you, you know that's a cue, you need to turn around, there's something behind you. If a power-up spawns and you hear it, you know it's time to go get it. And beyond that, we also feel very, very strongly from personal experience that the identity of the game very much is also tied to how it sounds in terms of music, in terms of the sound effects. Has anyone in here played any Mario game ever? I can guarantee you, if you're in a room with someone who's playing Mario and you couldn't see the screen, you're just hearing the sounds, you can tell what's going on, whether it's in the underwater level or the castle. When you get the mushroom, you have that mushroom sound, you hear bum 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 bum, you know, you fell into a pit or something. So, I can say very, very clearly that most major game franchises, or actually all major game franchises you can think of, have a very unique musical identity, and it's so, so important. So, that's the introduction to our panel, and I'd just like to introduce ourselves. Like mentioned, I'm Falk, Yeong. I went to Boston, to Berkeley to study, and over there I had the privilege of working on a lot of really, really big international titles, as mentioned, including Final Fantasy, including Sonic. I came back after a few years on a vacation back to Malaysia, and this experience working overseas really gave me a bit of perspective on where we are as a nation and where we can be. So my friend here, Elmer, he went to Tokyo, opposite side of the world, 12 hours apart, time difference, and he worked at a company called Bank Music under Donna Burke. Donna Burke is the singer for Metal Gear Solid, if anyone has ever heard of that franchise. So we have had different but very similar experiences in that we've seen things overseas, and it's really changed our perspective. So, moving on, I said that there's a difference between linear media and interactive media. Just to define those terms, linear media refers to film, TV series, YouTube content, where there's a concrete piece of media with a definite start, a definite end, a definite form. Every user that plays that piece of media will have the exact same experience. When you compose for something like that, it's very, very straightforward in that you know exactly what's going to happen because it's there. Like you know where the music's going to hit, you know where the sound effects are going to be. So it's a lot more straightforward than what we call interactive media. Interactive media, obviously, again, the most prominent example is video games. Some people play a level and they just breeze through it, they speedrun it, and it's over in like 10 seconds. Other people, they take a few minutes, or if they get stuck, they play a long time. For cases like that, the length of engagement for each different user is different. So the music has to take that into context as well. You don't want the music to end before the level does. So there's a lot of extra consideration that you would have to take. Obviously, the easiest, and I think it's almost mandatory that a lot of game music needs to be able to loop. Once it gets to the end, it goes back to a certain point of music, it keeps playing, so that if the player takes longer than the time that music goes through, the music is not going to cut off. It's going to continue playing until the player reaches to another state where different music is played, or in silence, or whatever goes on. So there are also a lot of other different ways that this interactive medium can harness its user engagement, whether the music can just hype up along with the combat. Like in Metal Gear, when you are sneaking around, the music is really subtle. It's basically like James Bond music almost. And then when you get spotted by an enemy and then gunfire erupts and then the music just goes and all those things are done on the fly. The composer cannot plan for that, so there's a lot of additional systems that are involved. So a lot of extra thought put into composition as well. So all that being said, the talk that we want to present today has a lot to do with our perspective having worked overseas and coming back and how we look at the local industry. So
now that you've heard a little bit about us and what we do, let's talk about local scene. Now, when I refer to the local scene, I do mean the way we view things, I do mean what's happening locally. So let's begin by this. How do we view the international industry? Let me paint you guys a picture. Imagine all of you are walking through a cinema, Golden Screens, TGV, and you see on the billboard 2 different movies, Ola Ola, and on the other side you see Titanic 2018. You see, we as Malaysians, we have this tendency and this bias to go for the foreign movie, the international movie, and this is a cognitive bias that's built into us. So, and for good reasons as well. But that brings us to the next question. How do we see ourselves? Now, if I were to ask you to name 3 games that were made locally, I think some of you might have a little problem with that. We might think that we can't do it. We might think that we don't have anything, but that might not. But you know, from going overseas and from us going overseas, that doesn't seem to be the case. Let me just explain it a bit. Some of our projects in Malaysia, who's been marketed internationally, has received millions of downloads, millions of sales, and some of them on Kickstarter have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. But why have we not heard of it? Is it because of what we choose to see? Now, we'll discuss a little bit more later on in the slides, but instead, let's just see what we are truly capable of. We have a video for you, courtesy of Falk, of a compilation of games made in Malaysia.
Heavy armor here.
Very short cross-section of the stuff that the Malaysians have done. You can see that there are everything from mobile games to like PC console games. There's a first-person shooter. There was a murder mystery called Simulacra. It's actually downloadable on phone that actually won a lot of international awards for story writing. There was a trailer for Real Legend, that Kickstarter game, which raised $630,000 Sing dollars. That's an insane amount when you come back to that mindset of what does Malaysia do. And understandable at this point if few people in this room have heard of these things because of our mindset, and that's really what we want to change.
And Malaysians, as general, we have been hand in hand with some of the greatest projects out there. I think if I mention these names, Street Fighter V, Final Fantasy 15, Call of Duty, Malaysians have a very big part to play in it, whether it be in sound or art or anything else. So, moving on. But it's not just us who have realized it. The top dogs have realized it as well. And together, we're bringing the Malaysian industry international.
So there is a government body called MDEC, that's Malaysia Multimedia Digital Economy Corporation. They are basically spearheading this push for more digital content being produced by Malaysians. I said that I took a vacation back to Malaysia. That was in 2015. And what I realized when I came back here was that there was a lot of stuff going on that did not exist when I left. And for me, a turning point was when I went to an event called Level Up KL. So that's an event, a game developer event that's been held by MDEC. They had it at the end of the year, and the first time was 2015. I went there, I realized, wow, maybe what we have here can grow as well. And because of that, I decided to start a local branch of our company, that SoundtRec that was mentioned, to basically take what I learned overseas, come back here and apply it to our industry as well. I really wanted to be a part of what Level Up was doing. Next year, 2016, I gave a panel at Level Up 2016. Level Up 2017, I actually moderated the panel as well, so there's been a growth in basically audio and games in Malaysia as well. I'm so thankful for that.
And as we mentioned, there are a lot of big dogs in Malaysia doing this right now. So we believe in pushing the game industry in Malaysia to the next revolution. I like to call this the gaming Big Bang of Malaysia. In Japan and in China, it represents Asia in the gaming, as a gaming hub. In the Western countries, we have the States. Now, what we are trying to do, we are trying to put it in Malaysia. For Southeast Asia, we're going to make Malaysia the gaming hub. And we have all the potential to do that. And to do that, what can we do?
I've been very, very privileged to have worked with a lot of local developers. And coming from the background we have, seeing the things that we have overseas, we realize that good audio is not an accident, it is a choice. And as the result of our networking and giving these talks at the game developer events, I am very, very fortunate to have been able to make so many contacts within the local industry. And an interesting thing that happened is we started composing for these games, and I'm very proud to say that literally last week we actually went to Boston to record my orchestra on 3 of them. And for me, that's an incredible milestone because really a lot of identity comes from the music and sound. So that is honestly what I feel is a very, very core part of going international. You want to go international, you need to do what the international games do. You need, anyone who's played Final Fantasy knows the music from Final Fantasy. Same for Zelda, same for Mario, same for Sonic. And having worked on 2 of those, I realized how important music is and just want to impart that to our local devs. So like I said, I'm so proud that there's been so much forward momentum in this one little aspect of games. Obviously, we can't do it by ourselves. We also have been talking to a lot of existing studios here who have been doing stuff like jingles, film production, music, and all these other things. They want to get into games, they don't know how because of the difference between linear and interactive audio, and we're trying to bridge that gap because an industry is not just one company. We cannot do that on our own. So that being said, what we can do to elevate the industry, first thing is you can see that as education. When we say education, we don't mean academia, although that is a big part of it. It really has to do with awareness, like letting the average layman know that yes, we do have a game industry. Its doors are open for anyone who wants to get in and start making games as well. It's a very, very legitimate career choice, and obviously the fact that we are standing here is proof of that, and we are just part of it. We are on the music side. So there's level design, there is storytelling, there's script writing, there is art, there's programming. There's just so much in this industry.
You know, for change to happen, we have to change from the inside. Now, what do I mean by this? We always have this xenophobic way of looking at ourselves. And for good measure, we always think as, we cannot lie, you become singer, you should sing at Pasar Malam, there's no way you're gonna get it out big, especially in Malaysia. No, that's not really true. That's just what people have been telling us. For me and Falk, we both went overseas, and we saw something that's very different. Now, I'll just share an experience with you when I was in Tokyo. You see, I went there in hopes that, you know, I can elevate myself and become a better musician. Now, when I went there, I got a surprise in my life. Everyone was normal. Everyone ate food, everyone slept, everyone had friends, everyone laughed. Maybe not the second last one, but so I was like, so what made these people so special that they can become one of the top music industries and game industries in the world? And then, after living with them for quite some time, I realized the main difference between them and us. We have the tendency to be critical on ourselves.
Yeah.
What happens here is when they, no matter how bad they are at something, they will always try. They will constantly try harder. If they fail, they'll do it again and again until they succeed. For us, we just give up after the first few tries. But, you know, against thousands and thousands of people, they don't give up. And eventually, they make it. And even if they don't, they still become one of the best. And so, a bowl of udon is so much greater than a lot of people can make because they tried their best. And Malaysians who adopted that perspective have made their successes as well. Just imagine this. If a person were to just, you know, create opportunities instead of waiting for them, we wouldn't have a lack of jobs. We would have a lack of people doing the jobs. And that is how we create industries. With that being said, we need your help. And let us create a future for video games here in Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you.